There comes a moment in every soul's journey when the veil lifts, and what was once confusing becomes startlingly clear. The narcissist, the master illusionist, no longer wears the mask that once enchanted or controlled. You, yes, you have awakened, and in that awakening you have become dangerous, not because you strike with violence or vengeance, but because you now see with clarity. You are no longer their supply. You are no longer their puppet. You are no longer vulnerable to their games. And it is in this moment of your strength, that the narcissist prepares their final act, the one last dirty trick that they believe will bring you to your knees again. There comes a moment in every soul's journey when the illusion shatters and the truth, long buried beneath confusion, rises like a wave. This is the moment when you stop seeing the narcissist as a puzzle to solve, a wound to heal, or a person to save, and instead recognize the pattern, the performance, the deep void behind their mask. They have fed on your kindness, played with your empathy, and thrived on your uncertainty, but now something has changed. You have begun to see. You have pulled away from the trance. You have stopped reacting, stopped explaining, stopped justifying your pain. And this shift, this awakening, is the very thing the narcissist fears most, because it signals that you are no longer under the spell, no longer tethered to their chaos, no longer available for their endless cycle of charm, devalue, discard, and hoover. In this clarity, you reclaim your gaze, your time, your energy. You see that what you mistook for love was dependency, that what felt like passion was control, that what appeared to be intimacy was manipulation. Your mind is no longer a battlefield where their words echo and confuse. Your body, once tense with hypervigilance, begins to exhale. Your heart, once hooked on hope, no longer clings to illusions. And this restoration of your inner world, this quiet reclamation of your selfhood, is the very thing they cannot stand, because it threatens the false identity they built through you. It threatens the control they once had, and it forces them to face what they cannot accept, that their reflection is gone, that their power is fading, that their performance no longer moves you. So they panic, they plot, they prepare their final move. But they do not approach from strength, for their strength was always borrowed. They approach from desperation. The narcissist sees your strength not as growth, but as betrayal. Your boundaries feel like abandonment. Your clarity feels like cruelty. Your peace feels like punishment. And so they try to re-enter, not with honesty, but with a new mask, a new game, a new appeal to your old wounds. They speak in the language they know you once responded to: tears, apologies, promises, or even rage. They become erratic, shifting between victimhood and blame, between charm and insult, between silence and obsession. They scan for weakness, looking for the version of you that still needed their approval, still believed their lies, still danced for their crumbs. But that version of you is dissolving. That version of you no longer seeks to convince them of your worth. That version no longer fears being misunderstood. That version no longer feels responsible for their emptiness. And as you hold steady, as you stay grounded in the truth you've come to know, the narcissist is left spinning, confused by your calm, infuriated by your refusal to engage, haunted by the realization that their greatest weapon, your empathy, is no longer theirs to exploit, because now you've turned that empathy inward, toward the one who needed it most all along. When the narcissist realizes their grip is slipping, their tactics shift from overt control to covert sabotage, and the most insidious among these is the calculated performance of vulnerability. This is not the vulnerability of the healed, not the kind that arises from courage and self-awareness, but the feigned weakness of someone who believes tears and trauma are tools to rehook your compassion. They will recount past wounds in carefully crafted monologues, weave tales of suffering that almost sound genuine, and they will present their sorrow as a mirror of your own pain, hoping you will confuse shared struggle with shared truth. They might apologize in language that mimics growth but lacks any depth of transformation. They may appear wounded, trembling, ashamed, as if awakening to the harm they've caused, yet their eyes will scan yours not for forgiveness, but for control. They are not seeking reconciliation. They are measuring whether their performance still works on you. They have watched how your heart responds to pain, how your healing instinct rises when someone appears broken, and now they aim to weaponize that against you, creating a false intimacy that pulls you back into their narrative. They will not say, "I hurt you," as a full admission, but rather cloak it with phrases like, "I wasn't in a good place," or "you triggered something in me," skillfully shifting the weight of responsibility onto the vague forces of circumstance or back onto you. And because you are strong now, they fear your strength, not just because it means you are free, but because it means their old tools are dull and ineffective. So they scramble to build new ones using the same materials of guilt, obligation, and sympathy, hoping one of them still pierces the armor of your growth. But you begin to notice the patterns hidden beneath the performance, the way their sorrow has a timer, the way their regret disappears the moment you stop feeding it with attention. You start seeing how their stories of trauma only emerge when you've pulled away, how their self-awareness is always reactive, never proactive. And in these moments you see the final layer peel back, the truth that their vulnerability is a script, not a revelation, a play designed not to heal but to bind, and it is then that your strength becomes something sacred, not loud or aggressive, but unshakable in its silence. You do not need to defend, accuse, or correct. You simply do not respond. You see through the illusion, and by refusing to validate it, you dismantle it. The narcissist, sensing their final attempt slipping, will often escalate. More tears, more dramatic gestures, more accusations of how cold or heartless you've become. But this is the echo of their desperation, the hollow cry of someone losing access to your soul. And while the weight of their manipulation may stir old guilt or flicker past memories of connection, you remain grounded, not because you are immune to emotion, but because you finally understand the cost of mistaking performance for presence when the narcissists attempt to regain control. Through feigned vulnerability fails, they often turn to a more sinister strategy, recruiting others into their distorted narrative, shaping a version of reality that casts them as the misunderstood victim and you as the irrational aggressor. This is not done by accident, but by careful design. For the narcissist understands that perception is power, and when they lose control over you directly, they attempt to regain it indirectly through the opinions and judgments of others. They will begin whispering into the ears of mutual acquaintances, family members, colleagues, anyone who may still view them with sympathy or neutrality, and with subtle innuendo, they will reframe your strength as coldness, your boundaries as cruelty, your detachment as betrayal. They won't always lie outright, but will twist the truth, omit key details, and present only fragments of reality carefully curated to paint a picture that serves their agenda. "I tried everything," they might say, or "I don't know what happened, they just changed." As if your growth were some sudden act of disloyalty rather than a long, awaited act of self-preservation. They will present themselves as humble, confused, even wounded, inviting pity from those who do not know the full story. And these third parties, unaware of the deeper dynamics, may offer the narcissist comfort, validate their false narrative, and even confront you on their behalf, unknowingly becoming agents of triangulation. The narcissist uses them like chess pieces, setting you up to feel isolated, doubted, and even shamed for standing in your truth. You may find yourself hearing your own words repeated back to you with suspicion, your motives questioned, your story dismissed. This is psychological warfare masked as concern, and the narcissist thrives in this shadowy terrain where manipulation wears the face of misunderstanding. But as painful as this betrayal by proxy can feel, it is also a profound test of your clarity, for you are being asked to trust your own inner compass even when the external world is clouded by distortion. You must learn to stand in your truth without the need for validation, to recognize that not everyone deserves access to your story, and that some people will never understand because they are either too entangled with the narcissist's charm or too uncomfortable with the complexity of your truth. The narcissist hopes this isolation will break you, will make you doubt your decisions, will force you to re-engage just to clear your name or win back approval. But this is the trap. The moment you defend yourself to people who were never truly listening, you are once again playing a role in their script. The real victory lies in your refusal to participate, your ability to release the need to be seen accurately by those who were never meant to hold your truth, and to let your actions, your peace, and your continued growth be the quiet testimony that no smear campaign can ever truly silence. So walk forward not in anger, but in knowing you were tested, you were tempted, and yet you rose. The final trick failed, and now, in your silence, in your sovereignty, you deliver the one message the narcissist cannot endure: I have become whole without you. And in that wholeness, you are finally free.